Am I the asshole for sending my cousin the bill for my kid's birthday cake because her kid ruined it? We recently threw my 5-year-old a birthday party. He hasn't had a real birthday party since he was 2 years old due to COVID, so this was the first one he'd actually remember. We wanted to make it special, so we invited all our closest friends, family members and their kids. One of my cousins, a single mom, has a very unruly 6-year-old. He is loud, disobedient, and a nightmare in public. When it came time to blow out the candles and cut the birthday cake, he came and stood directly next to my son. I anticipated what was going to happen next and asked my husband to stand behind this kid in case he tried to pull anything. After we sang, this kid kept trying to blow out the candles. My husband kept blocking him and pulling him back, and we could tell the kid was getting frustrated. Eventually my son blew out the candles and the kid absolutely lost it. He threw a tantrum and slammed his entire arm into the cake, knocking it into the table. It was so awkward, everyone gasped and got quiet. My son looked up at us and I could tell he was about to start crying. In an effort to not cause a bigger scene, my husband picked him up and whispered to him that we had another special cake just for him. We didn't, and he seemed to calm down. Meanwhile, his cousin was still standing there screaming and crying, his arm covered in cake. His mom was nowhere to be seen. I walked him over to the sink and washed him off and quietly told him that he shouldn't have done that to the cake and that he should apologize to his cousin for what he did. He screamed, "No," in my face and then ran away. My husband ended up running out to buy a sheet cake that we cut and served to everyone. I spoke to my cousin after the party about what happened since she wasn't in the room, and she brushed it off saying, "Kids will be kids." I completely disagree. I've been to plenty of birthday parties where the other kids let the birthday boy, girl have their moment. I suggested she pay for the ruined cake and she looked at me like I was crazy. I told her how important it was to us that this birthday be special to my son since it would be the first one he remembered, and now all he would remember was that his cousin ruined his special moment. She got extremely defensive and refused to pay for anything. She then accused me of acting like the perfect mom, and began to list the ways in which I was in fact not perfect. It was a hurtful conversation and we haven't spoken since. I sent her the bill for the ruined cake and she has not paid us. I actually feel she should pay for both cakes since her kid is the reason we had to get a new one, but I didn't go that far. My husband thinks she'll never pay us and that I should drop the issue at this point. He says that since she's a single mom it's probably hard on her and we should cut them both some slack. I understand that, but I feel like that's just letting her and her son off the hook, and this will lead to even bigger problems in the future if we don't hold them accountable. Am I the asshole here? Not the asshole, but you'll never get your money and I think you made the point. The kid is a jerk because the parent is a jerk. No longer invite them to any parties and enjoy your immediate family because they seem nice. Not the asshole, but obviously she's not going to pay for the cake. Don't invite her to any more occasions or events and just write her off. Her son is going to have massive problems in the future no matter what. It's not your responsibility, nor do you even have the ability to prevent that. Hounding her about paying for the cake isn't going to make any difference at all, except make both of you feel more anger and resentment. Believe me, when your son is older, he's going to remember, "Oh yeah, I remember asshole cousin Joe ruined my cake that year. I wonder if he's out of jail yet?" Not the asshole. And #X200B. You're not getting that money, honey, swallow that pill now. What I would suggest is moving on, and going forward excluding her and her child from things you do that he may ruin. You are not wrong for wanting a special moment for your child. Everyone wants their birthday to be special. I hope you don't feel any guilt over this. And while your husband is kind and well-intentioned, growing up with a single mother is no excuse for this behavior, and being a single mother is no excuse for not teach your child how to behave. Not the asshole, but your husband is partially correct. The mother will never pay that bill. In the future, you just don't invite them. If the mother asks why, you tell her because that she seems incapable of controlling her kid. Your cousin is setting herself up for some very difficult years. What a disservice to her child. You are not the asshole. Not the asshole. She can either parent her kid or she can face consequences. Realistically, you need to stop inviting the cousin to things and be blunt about it to her and any adult. Not the asshole. However, if you show your kid that this behavior is tolerated, you will be. I'd say a good way to demonstrate accountability is to insist that they are no longer welcome at your home celebrations. This isn't a single mom problem, it's a bad parenting problem. Like others have said, not the asshole, Don't expect to get reimbursed and don't have them over again. Am I the asshole for embarrassing my mother-in-law in front of the family? My mother-in-law, Barbara, is a conservative woman. She tends to be very critical of me. She always finds flaws in me and is always trying to fix them, e.g. her response to me dyeing my hair was that I committed a sin by changing God's chose hair color for me. She once threw some of my ling saying her son shouldn't see them because it's sinful. We were already married BTW. During engagement period, she made a weekly reminder of me to not get preg or else she and her family will disown the baby and cut me off. Recently, she started commenting about how bad my face looks. She kept sending me boxes and boxes of this tea she recommends since she's big on herbals and essential oils. Basically forcing me to try it, although I already told her that it makes my stomach hurt and causes me to throw up. Yesterday, I visited my in-laws alone for lunch since my husband, Tommy, had work and couldn't come. Barbara examined my face from across the table while we were eating and was like, "Oh, looks like the tea has finally yielded some pretty good results. Your face no longer looks pale and outworn like before." Everyone stopped eating and stared at me. I felt so embarrassed and quite shocked that she'd call my face that. I leaned back and told her, "No, Tommy's actually been helping me out with the distress every night in his own special way, wink wink." She must have figured out what I meant, and so did the others because they started laughing and she literally widened her eyes in shock. She looked very offended but said nothing, just said, "Excuse me," and walked out. Silence took over, but later, Barbara called me lashing out about the disrespectful and inappropriate things I said in front of the family. I said that I was just letting her know her tea did nothing and told her the reason why my face was blooming. She shamed me for talking about her son's intimacy and said that I clearly am taking advantage of him. I guaranteed that I wasn't taking advantage, but she kept berating me, then wrapped up with a request for an apology after I offended her in front of the family. Don't know if I messed up here. Am I the asshole for my response? Not the asshole. And perhaps you should check what that tea is. Basically forcing me to try it, although I already told her that it makes my stomach hurt and causes me to throw up. What on earth is she giving you? Check what it is. She could be poisoning you. Not the asshole. This woman frankly sounds jealous of your relationship and intimacy with her son. I know, gross. I am concerned about that tea. There was a story a few years ago about this woman whose mill had been giving her tea with sage, which apparently makes you miscarriage. She's gave you tea that makes you sick. I would have it tested for poisons. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, but I wouldn't trust anything she sends just for you. She sounds deranged enough to harm you. Not the asshole. You need to remove this toxic woman from your life, and your husband needs to address this bullshit with his mother. My mother and stepfather disrespected my wife and are no longer in my life. They've never even met my two younger children ages 10 and 8. Not the asshole. She embarrassed you and has been doing so regularly. You stood up for yourself. You'd be an asshole if you continued to just let her do it, but now that you did, perhaps you too can start down the road to recovery. What does your husband think about all of this? Not the asshole. She more than earned that clapback. Am I the asshole for not helping my sister to remove something that insults her? My sister cheated on her husband. Her husband is a restaurant owner. He has one of those quirky restaurants with funny food names. It's all one-liners. I'm not a fan of it because I find it embarrassing, but the food's good. Once the divorce went through, he added a menu item along the lines of, "Sarah's cheating chicken ass." My sister's name is something super generic. I know like 19 Sarahs. A friend sent Sarah the menu and she was outraged. She came to me to ask me to help her take it down. I'm not a lawyer and don't plan to be, but I've taken corporate law courses and have friends that are lawyers. But I don't want to help her. In my personal opinion, she deserves this and I don't want to get involved. The only ones that would know who this is about already know the story, so there is not really a case for defamation. There are too many Sarahs. The only thing we could do is send a cease and desist letter. But that's not legally binding and it's hassle. I told my sister so and she got mad at me and told our parents, who say that what her ex is doing is worse than what she did. Am I the asshole? The fact that she claims this is worse than her cheating on her ex-husband tells me that she's going to present herself as the victim regardless of what you do, so you might as well stick to your guns. I'd go buy one of those meals and encourage the ex, not the asshole. Not the asshole. She made her bed, now she can lay her cheating chicken ass in it. Lol. Not the asshole. Her ex naming a food this is worse than her actual cheating? They're all delusional. Not the asshole. She is welcome to consult a lawyer. YWBTA if you started picking up the dish as takeout and serving it to her, but a funny aw. Not the asshole, although even if I ate chicken, I'd never order chicken ass. And cheating chicken ass herself should remember that she will only become infamous should she attempt to publicize this. Not the asshole, aside from what everyone else said, I'm tired of parents defending terrible behavior just because it's their children. Not the asshole, she can hire a lawyer or some online option. And #X200B. And your parent's sense of reality is quite unique. The X is not doing anything near what she did. In my opinion, this is the bare minimum of what a cheater deserves, and she shouldn't be outraged at the name if she was willing to commit the deed. Am I the asshole for telling my girlfriend her niece's name is misspelled? My girlfriend and I have been dating for almost a year and a half. Due to both us being in law school across the province and the pandemic restrictions, I had never met her family in person before this past weekend. Only via video calls and talking on the phone. This past weekend we took a trip for the long weekend to visit them. I got to meet my girlfriend's sister, brother-in-law and niece. Her niece is called Nevia. I never heard the name and my girlfriend's sister said it is heaven spelled backwards. It is not because heaven backwards would be Nevea, not Nevia. Later I told my girlfriend what her sister said, and at first she didn't believe me, and the next morning told her parents, who also didn't believe me. I had to type it out for them to see what I meant. Not only did they not know, but my girlfriend's sister and brother-in-law didn't either. All of them were surprised and shocked her name isn't really heaven spelled backwards like they thought. Am I the asshole for bringing it up to my girlfriend? She's pissed at me for telling her, and so are her parents and sister, Bill. I don't think it's my fault none of them noticed for 5 years, but my girlfriend thinks I shouldn't have said anything to her in the first place. Not the asshole. Because that little girl would have went to school telling people her name is heaven backwards and would get teases the moment those kids learn to spell. You helped them out. That is fucking hilarious, and no, not the asshole. Not the asshole, that's kind of funny though. Technically speaking though, her name isn't misspelled. However, it is spelled on the birth certificate as the correct spelling. They are just incorrect to say that it is heaven spelled backwards. Ooh baby, do you know what that's worth? Ooh, haven ain't a place on earth. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, someone was bound to point it out eventually. Better you doing it politely than someone else being mean about it. They can get the birth certificate corrected if they want to, or leave it as is. Not the asshole. I came in thinking you were going to the asshole because names can be spelled whichever way. But this is not what I expected. Also, sorry about this kid's name, but OMG, this is hella funny. Not the asshole, just stating a fact. Not your fault they didn't actually ever check it themselves before. Frankly, you probably did them a favor. Better to find out now and either fix it, or stop saying that, as it would be far worse when she gets into school. Others might not be so kind. Not the asshole, as long you weren't an asshole when you told them.